Going to college is important to continue your education, and it's also a big step to getting a good paying job. But attending college costs a lot of money. The average cost to attend a four-year school out of state is nearly $41,000 per year. Multiply that by 4 years, and students are looking at a price tag of more than $163,000. That means many students need loans to afford higher education. Since college is so expensive, it's necessary to understand student loan options before signing for them and having an effective strategy to pay them off. Americans owe $1.3 trillion in student loan debt, spread out among about 43 million borrowers. Like many students, Tess Coberly had to take out a loan to pay for college. She graduated from Penn State, majoring in media studies with minors in history and international studies.
I took out 8 different loans because I studied for 8 semesters, but they're both subsidized and unsubsidized federal loans. I did not take any private loans out from the bank. I started borrowing each year, starting with my first semester freshman year, and I borrowed pretty much the same amount each semester to fund my education.
When taking out a loan, students have 2 standard options. They can go for a federal or a private loan. But what's the difference? Jan Miller is the student loan advisor for Miller Student Loan Consulting. He explains the difference.
Federal loans are offered, directly by the U.S. Department of Education. They're subject to federal regulations. They have lots of repayment options that come with the loan. So, forgiveness potential, income-driven plans, things like that, and they're completely regulated by the federal government. Private loans are going to come from a private student loan lender or institution. They may even come from the school itself.
Private loans from banks or financial institutions do not have the same type of repayment flexibility as federal loans do. With private loans, payments start when students graduate. With federal loans, students have the possibility to delay or lower their payments. Still, it can be confusing to choose the best loan and make debt more manageable after college. Certified financial planner Catherine Hawley says one of the most important factors should also be one of the most obvious.
The number one thing that I think about is the amount of debt that someone's taking on, because that's going to determine if they're able to pay it to start. And one rule of thumb there is to take on no more debt than what your first year's salary might be out of college. Now, that may be difficult for some students to assess exactly what that is, but at least to get a sense of that.
When it comes to federal loans, students may apply for direct subsidized loans or direct unsubsidized loans. Subsidized loans are usually available to undergraduate students in financial need. The advantage of this type of loan is that the U.S. Department of Education pays the interest for the duration of studies, plus usually a grace period of 6 months after graduation. After that, the student has to pay off the debt and the accruing interest. Direct unsubsidized loans are available to both undergraduate and graduate students without a requirement to demonstrate financial need. Students may choose not to pay interest while they are in school, but they should be aware that interest will accumulate and be capitalized. Catherine Hawley admits that it can be hard to decide which type of loan students should pursue.
I think that it's really difficult for someone to understand the implications of the debt that they're taking on and to make an informed decision about it, because most have likely, they've never paid back a debt of any significance.
She says writing out a budget can help with figuring out a student loan payment plan.
One thing that I suggest people do, and it may take some imagination, but I think it's a great exercise, is to write out a potential budget for when they graduate. And, one of those budget items might be the amount that they're paying back, or maybe a range that they would pay back in student loans.
Coberly says it's not easy to find a job right after graduation, so she decided to delay her payment and only pay off interest.
I am on the pay-as-you-earn repayment plan, so my payments right now, month to month, are $0. But whenever I come into some extra money and I can make it possible, I try to pay down my interest.
There is always a risk that a student defaults on one or more loans. That should be avoided, but if it happens with a federal loan, there are ways to solve it.
The first way is, it's called a rehabilitation program. It's 9 consecutive on-time payments that you make with the collection agency that's based usually off of your income. And once you've made all 9 payments, then they actually transfer the loan back to the loan servicer, and your loan goes back into repayment, and you qualify for all federal programs once again, and your loan even shows current and in good standing on your credit report from that time on.
But Miller says there is another path worth considering.
The other way of doing it is what's called a default consolidation, in which you can consolidate all of your loans into one giant consolidation loan, and the new consolidation loan pays off the defaulted loan and puts the loan back into good standing.
Some student loans can also be forgiven through a student loan forgiveness policy program. There are many programs a student can apply for, but according to Miller, the Public Service Loan Forgiveness Program is the most beneficial.
That program is for all borrowers who work for a nonprofit for at least 10 years. You have to make payments for 10 years, but those payments are usually lower based on your income. And as a result, you pay less out of pocket through the life of the loan, and then whatever's left after 10 years is forgiven tax-free under that program only.
Coberly says that if she could do anything differently, she would have taken a gap year and saved up some money so she wouldn't have had to take out as many loans. She also recommends investigating alternative repayment plans because the pay-as-you-earn plan was a lifesaver for her. Having a student loan is a big responsibility, and students are often scared they will not be able to repay it. Therefore, they should consider looking at different loan options, forgiveness potential, and the salary they are aiming for. This will help them make a responsible decision when choosing a student loan. For Radio America, I am Jose Montoya.